Revealed. Billionaire discovers incredible secret as MAID. Transforms lives of his paralyzed twins. Grant McAllister stood on the edge of a precipice, wealth flowing in waves around him, yet feeling as though he had lost everything. His sprawling Austin mansion echoed with laughter once, but now carried the weight of his son's silence, relegated to wheelchairs after the accident. Jason and Tyler, once vibrant and full of life, were now shadows of their former selves. As he looked out at the lush green lawns, despair knotted his stomach tighter than any business deal ever had. The very source of his triumph, the fortune amassed through relentless ambition, could not erase the guilt gnawing at him. He hired Mia, a maid with an uncanny ability to connect with the boys. It was through her creativity and compassion that laughter, once absent, slowly returned to the hallways. With each session of laughter and imaginative games, a flicker of hope ignited in Grant's heart. Yet it was swiftly consumed by his ever-present inadequacy. Watching Mia handle Jason and Tyler with effortless grace etched a painful reminder in his mind that he, millionaire and mogul, was still a stranger to true parenting. He felt like an intruder in his own home. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. It became evident Mia was no ordinary maid. In a world that had all but given up on his sons, she constructed an art studio out of mere remnants in the garage. And as they created, their dreams gained momentum. But with each moment of their blossoming, Grant felt more cornered. He was a CEO lacking a corporate strategy when facing the cruel realities of life. What did it matter to have billions when his sons suffered? His business partner, Marcus, nudged him into a corner, flashing grinning emails of a lucrative reality show that could turn their pain into profit. The McAllister story could captivate America. Marcus beamed, but Grant's pulse quickened in protest. His moral compass spun dizzyingly. Protect his family or cash in on the tragedy? Every misguided moment swirled until he found himself at the dinner table, watching Mia read gently to the boys. In that instant, the enormity of his privilege felt suffocating. Mia, who had already suffered loss, had risen to meet his sons, while he cowered behind the constraints of his wealth, his head clouded in guilt. As doubt battled within, an icy wave swept through him. The truth of Mia's own past flooded his mind after overhearing her confide in the boys. In the looming silence, dread coiled within him. He realized that this woman, with her fierce determination, stood representing everything he had failed to be. Yet the clarity it stood for wrenched him into conflicted turmoil, each day becoming an endless countdown toward a decision he was not prepared to make. The stakes grew sharper. How could he betray that fragile hope blooming within his sons? The clock ticked down, and Grant fought the shadows closing in, knowing the consequences of each moment weighed heavy. To protect or to exploit, hope burned in stark contrast to the darkness of greed. Grant's internal conflict simmered, a tempest of uncertainty crashing against the walls of his carefully constructed life. He paced the marble floors of his mansion, every step a reminder of how distant he felt from the sound of his son's joy. In the art studio Mia had created, laughter painted the walls and infused the air, but its source often slipped away from him. He had a sudden compulsion to act, to break free from the paralysis of indecision that had gripped him. He had always dominated the boardroom, crafting cunning strategies that turned small ideas into monumental deals. Yet here, in the tender realm of family, he was a novice, unable to fathom the simplest route to understanding his children. Could he hire a therapist? Organize outings? Or perhaps the right words after a long, hard day would unlock a door to their hearts? But every potential solution felt void when juxtaposed with Mia's success in coaxing genuine expressions from his sons with effortless sincerity. As evening fell, he finally found himself in the art studio, where Jason and Tyler were elbow-deep in paint, their laughter chiming over the swish of brushes against canvas. It was intoxicating, but the deeper implications sank like stones in his gut. Unable to resist, he approached them, unsure of his welcome. "How's it going, boys?" he asked weakly, forcing a smile that felt foreign. They looked up, surprise dancing across their faces before Jason's bright grin lit the room. "Look, Dad, Mia taught us to paint galaxies. We're astronauts." Their enthusiasm pierced through his haze, yet it brought a wave of self-loathing. "That's amazing," he murmured. But was it really? Did they see the universe? Or merely colors? He craved a connection but felt so limited, a man adrift on an ocean of guilt. His mind raced as he realized he lacked knowledge about their interests, their fears, and their dreams. In the wake of their creativity, a plan began to form. What if he encouraged their passions, made room for more of these moments? The weight of means collided with motive. He had resources, so why not apply that drive to his son's happiness? He turned to Mia later that evening, her gentle presence flickering in his vision like a beacon against the storm brewing inside him. "What if we organized an art show at the house? Let the twins showcase their work, invite friends." The words rushed from him, almost desperate, but he noticed how she paused, carefully considering. "That's a wonderful idea, Grant. Exposure to others can build confidence, but more importantly, it should come from a place of genuine interest. You need to be there for them, not just as a provider, but as their father." Her words cut through him, igniting a flame of recognition. He had been absent, a mere financial figure rather than an emotional pillar. The challenge expanded beyond logistics. It demanded his time, vulnerability, and honesty. Yet he felt the spark of determination flare within him. Over dinner that night, he surprised himself and his sons with questions about their art, about colors and feelings that mixed in their canvases. They hesitated at first, but as he expressed sincere curiosity, they began to bloom, flowered by the attention that he saw had been missing for too long. But as the boys started to share their stories, Grant could sense the presence of his partner Marcus looming in the background, ready to pounce on any weakness. Would he take his son's newfound confidence and abstract it into a profitable venture? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. The struggle was far from over. It loomed ominously before him, as each decision would either build their bond or erode it further. The very fabric of their family happiness and future clashed with the expectations of the world outside. But this moment felt different. Grant could almost taste the potential. A new chapter poised to unfold, where he would redefine his role beyond the boardroom. Yet would his commitment withstand the scrutiny of his life's foundations? Tomorrow brought new challenges, but one thing was clear. Grant was prepared to face whatever shadows loomed ahead, regardless of the financial or emotional cost. As the evening dimmed into darkness, he felt a resolve begin to settle within him. But as he closed the door to the art studio, a surprising message blinked on his phone. A new email from Marcus. The subject line read, "The McAllister reality show." The time had come to face the harsh realities of ambition, of fame, and the toll it could take on his family. Would he protect what was truly important, or let greed snatch away their fragile hope for a brighter future? The dawn light spilled into the mansion, illuminating the corridors that once felt so isolating. Grant stood at the threshold of the art studio, hesitation wedged deep in his throat. The email from Marcus remained open in his mind, a gnawing reminder that ambition often cast shadows over authenticity. He took a deep breath, the invigorating scent of paint swirling from the studio beckoning him to step in. As he entered, he found Jason and Tyler busy preparing their canvases for the showcase. The sight was both inspiring and anxiety-inducing, reverberating with the weight of his commitments. They glanced up at their father, their expressions a blend of innocence and expectation. Grant felt a surge of determination. He couldn't let his fears wither the budding connection they seemed to be forging. "Boys," he began, catching the sight of their eager faces. "I want this art show to be a big deal. We'll invite all your friends, and I'll handle everything from the food to the setup." Their eyes widened, an infectious energy radiating between them. "But I need your help. What do you think we should do to make it special?" Jason chimed in. "Can we paint a giant mural, like a galaxy backdrop?" Tyler nodded vigorously. "Yeah, and we can have a rocket ship on it." Excitement flooded through Grant, sparking ideas that fluttered around his mind like butterflies. This was uncharted territory, navigating through his son's aspirations and allowing their creativity to take center stage. It wasn't just about an art show. It was about being present, truly present. Yet as the day progressed, doubt gnawed at him. He had never spent this much time prioritizing sentiments over numbers. Could he uphold this renewed commitment in the face of Marcus's looming influence? The image of his partner in a suit, calculating potential profits and media exposure, tarnished the enchanting vision of the art show. His phone buzzed again. Another message from Marcus buzzed into his thoughts. Dearest friends and growth, he thought bitterly. Was success worth the sacrifice of his family's bond? Could he redefine what success meant? Or would he allow ambition to dictate his priorities? That evening, he sat across from Mia during dinner. Her gaze was intense, as if she could see through his facade. "You're planning something," she said, watching him carefully. "Am I that transparent?" he asked, attempting to sound lighthearted as his mind struggled to articulate the conflicting turmoil. "You're excited about the show, but I can see the tension in your shoulders." There it was, the truth, barbed with discomfort. He took a series of deliberate breaths, trying to shape his thoughts into words. "I need to show them that I'm invested in their dreams. But what if Marcus tries to turn this into a spectacle? I want them to thrive, not feel like pawns in a reality show." Mia's expression softened, her eyes filled with understanding. "You are their father first. If you create boundaries now, it'll set a foundation for their future. They need your authenticity, not a version of you that fits someone's expectations." Her advice struck at the heart of his anxiety. This was more than boardroom strategies or financial projections. Their bond relied on trust, a bridge spanning the uncertain territory of parenthood. He could feel momentum shifting. With every interaction, he was discovering unique aspects of his identity that surpassed the confines of his business persona. Inspired, he finished his meal and excused himself. As he stood at the threshold of the studio again, the air buzzed with creative possibility. The boys were still debating colors for the mural. Grant felt drawn into the vibrant discussions, a surge of hope coursing through him. Yet, the pulsing anxiety about Marcus's influence lingered like a storm cloud overhead. He turned back to his phone, staring hard at the screen. Gratification at any cost was a slippery slope. Could he withstand that pressure while fostering his son's true passions? As the weight of his choices sat heavily on his chest, he heard the unmistakable sound of laughter in the studio. It reminded him of everything he fought for, the laughter of his sons, the unexplored territories of fatherhood. Maybe he could define the parameters of his partnership with Marcus without sacrificing his family's spirit. But as he looked at his phone one last time, contemplating whether to reply to Marcus or put the phone down for good, uncertainty gripped him. Would he seize the course of his family's narrative, or surrender to the machinations of the world outside? The moment of truth waited ahead, and as the evening fell, Grant felt the shadows close in, ready to challenge him once again. The soft illumination of the studio was an anchor in Grant's swirling thoughts. The scent of paint and the children's laughter created a cozy cocoon in which he could almost convince himself that everything would be okay. Yet the phone in his hand felt heavier, a whispering reminder of obligations and hidden intentions that lay beyond those walls. With a resolute nod, he stepped inside, ready to participate in their creative exchanges instead of simply observing. "All right, "How do we want to start this mural?" he asked, his voice infused with a newfound enthusiasm. Jason and Tyler, energized by their father's involvement, dove into a flurry of ideas, their words a delightful cacophony that wrapped around him like music. But even amidst the joyous chatter, the gnawing doubts persisted. Each laugh felt precarious, as if it danced on the razor's edge of his internal conflict. Grant hesitated, then set his phone aside, determined to be wholly present for his boys. After all, what mattered most wasn't the grand notoriety of the show or the financial windfall, but his son's genuine delight in the art they created together. "Let's sketch out our ideas first," Grant suggested, grabbing a large sheet of paper and markers, coaxing the boys to visualize their dream instead of succumbing to the pressure of executing it perfectly. As they huddled together, he couldn't help but marvel at their creativity. The sheer originality emanating from their minds was something he yearned to nurture rather than stifle. Throughout the evening, participants morphed into collaborators. Watching their sketches unfold, Grant discovered an unexpected talent. He could communicate not just with words, but by weaving himself into their artistic vision. As he doodled alongside them, something shifted in him. He felt freer, the constraints of parental expectations and business pressures slipping away, all the while enriching their collective experience. Yet, just as he felt a surge of empowerment, an ominous realization struck. The email from Marcus still lurked in the recesses of his mind, a potential disruptor to the harmony they were building. Questions simmered within him. Would Marcus respect this familial endeavor, or would he view it merely as a platform for exploitation? The mural took shape, and so did Grant's resolve. He would need a plan, a way to communicate to Marcus that his children were non-negotiable. They deserved authenticity, not a version of success that others dictated. Days rolled into one another, pushing the art show closer. Each moment spent in the studio solidified Grant's commitment, yet Marcus's intrusions crept into his consciousness. He needed to act before the partnership began to erode his family's spirit. During one late-night brainstorming session, when the boys were finally tucked in, Grant dragged a tried-and-true legal pad from his office, scribbling out boundaries he'd enforce with Marcus. Every line felt like a pledge, a commitment to uphold the vision nurtured in their family cocoon. Then came a sudden thought. What if he turned Marcus's ambitions upside down? What if he twisted the narrative, using the show not to showcase their family as a spectacle, but a rich, meaningful exploration of creativity and connection? That would send a strong message, wouldn't it? His heart raced at the prospect. But, as each idea spiraled, the realization began to dawn on him. The very essence of his resolve hinged on a confrontation he had delayed. He needed to put an end to the ambiguity surrounding his partnership with Marcus and set the boundaries clearly, without equivocation. As he defined those limits, the growing urgency compelled him to take action. The time had indeed come to face the reality of their partnership. But a lingering question remained. Would he find the inner strength to stand firm? Or would the demands of ambition lead him to sacrifice what he was protecting? Tomorrow would be pivotal, a confrontation that could either elevate or fracture everything he'd fought to build. As he closed his notebook, sweat dotting his brow, Grant felt the weight of impending choices pressing on his chest. The moment of truth awaited him, and clarity forged in the studio would soon face an external test. Grant knew the morning would reshape everything. He awoke early, the sunlight streaming through the studio windows, illuminating the sketches they had crafted together. Each brushstroke and idea reflected the bond with his sons, a testament to the unity he sought to protect. Yet amidst this warmth, the cold presence of Marcus loomed in his mind like a storm cloud. What was once a dream of potential collaboration now felt like a minefield, fraught with unspoken threats. Grant shifted from thoughts of his art and children to scenes of acrimonious debate, a future where creative expression could be subjugated by corporate machinations. He felt a prickle of anxiety that settled in his gut like a stone. Would he step into the ring and advocate for his family's vision, or would he capitulate to the weight of Marcus's influence? As he prepared for the meeting, each movement felt heavy with implications, as if he were donning armor for battle. He practiced his tone, imagining the phrases that would carry the weight of what he stood for. Would Marcus understand the heart behind the mural or dismiss it as a profit-generating gimmick? Grant sat down at the studio table, a cup of coffee barely warming his fingers as he jotted down points to discuss. The walls felt alive with his son's laughter echoing from yesterday, moments that would be obliterated if he failed to secure their artistic integrity. He sketched the bold letters "Family" across the top of the page, a visual anchor reminding him of what truly mattered. Once it drew nearer to the time of the meeting, he couldn't shake the voice in his head that echoed Marcus's answer to conflict. "Sacrifice for success," it whispered. Each time that question crossed his mind, it bore down harder on his resolve. Could he break free from the conditioning that defined ambition as the eradication of personal boundaries? His phone buzzed. It was a reminder of the meeting, the name Marcus flashing ominously. Today was not merely a professional dialogue. It was the test of his personal growth. Grant envisioned standing firm and presenting unwavering foundational principles. Driving to the office, he rehearsed scenarios in his mind. Would Marcus scoff at the notion that children's creativity could triumph over corporate gain? How would he react when Grant asserted his right, not just as a father, but as a voice for authentic representation? The office loomed ahead, a stark contrast to the warm creativity of the studio. As he entered, the sterile environment grated against the visceral, vibrant world he shared with his sons. The fluorescent lights seemed to sap the spirit from the space. He took a breath, trying to approach the threshold of this confrontation without faltering. Inside the conference room, Marcus looked as polished as ever, his suit crisply tailored, a facade of dominance he wore as easily as his demeanor. The air crackled with tension, expectations swirling around them like a tangible entity. "Grant, I'm glad you made it," Marcus greeted, the hint of a smirk suggesting he held all the cards. "I've been eager to delve into what we can achieve together." The words felt rehearsed for a reality that Grant had no intention of entertaining. His heart pounded in rhythm with the mounting stakes. Here was the moment he had feared and anticipated, the precipice where personal vulnerability met corporate ambition. "Marcus, before we begin, I need to share my vision for this project, one that prioritizes the integrity of my family above any commercial benefits." A moment of silence hung between them, heavy and laden with uncertainty. Would Marcus ridicule him, challenge him, or begrudgingly respect his wishes? As Grant found his breath and his grounding, he could see the stirrings of conflict, an unspoken battle of wills ready to unfold. As the tension escalated, so too did the realization that he was no longer just an artist or father in the company of his children. He was a man poised to reclaim his narrative against the tide of ambition that threatened to overwhelm him. But as Marcus began to respond, Grant felt that pressure shift. The stakes were high, and with every word exchanged, the path forward could either solidify their familial foundation or unravel it completely. With pulse racing, he awaited Marcus's retort. The revelation of whether there would be compromise or clash. His fate hung in the balance, signaling a formidable challenge ahead. Would he emerge as the architect of his own story, or would ambition cloud the canvas of his life? The silence that enveloped the conference room was palpable, thick enough to choke on. Grant held his breath, acutely aware of the walls that closed in on him, mirroring the internal struggle mounting beneath his calm exterior. He had voiced his ethos clearly. The art was not merely an avenue for profit, but a lifeline to a deeper connection within his family. Marcus leaned forward, the smirk fading, replaced by a calculating glaze in his eyes. "That's noble, Grant. Really, it is. But we're in business here. What does that vision translate to in numbers? What will the stakeholders think?" The question lashed out like a whip, striking hard against Grant's confidence. The doubt crept back in, threatening to unravel the fabric of his resolve. He felt the weight of corporate expectations pressing down, demanding concessions that felt antithetical to everything he was fighting for. "Numbers can capture expansion, growth, but they can't quantify heart," Grant replied, surprised by the steadiness in his own voice. "Art isn't solely about profit. It's about connection, inspiration, the legacy I want to leave for my sons. This mural represents that legacy. It speaks to who we are as a family." The sparkle in Marcus's eye hinted at a shift in strategy. He leaned back, arms crossed, exuding a practiced friendliness that veiled the predator within. "That's lovely, but you must understand the reality of the situation. We need to cater to the market. If we can design the mural to appeal to a wider audience, it may fund your vision, but you have to think broader." Grant felt the ripple of frustration wash over him. What was the point of expanding the vision if it strayed from the truth that anchored him? He was prepared for this fight. This was no mere creative negotiation. It was a battle of principles. Expanding the appeal would dilute its essence, Marcus. The heart of the mural is rooted in our story, not mass consumption. If we create to please others, we lose the very thing that makes it uniquely ours. The conviction in his words surprised him, ringing with the authority of a father determined to protect his children's future. Marcus's expression shifted, the smirk returning with a challenging glint. "I admire your passion, Grant, but you need to understand that this project needs to work for both of us. Let's find a compromise. After all, art is shaped by its audience." Compromise. The word hung heavy in the air, its implications weighing on Grant's shoulders. Could he truly negotiate without losing sight of his ideals? The integrity of his vision had become entwined with his identity as an artist and a father. The risk is creating a facade that could crumble into oblivion. What will my children inherit if I prioritize profit over authenticity? Grant's voice trembled slightly, revealing a hint of vulnerability. Marcus, seeing a crack, seized the moment deftly. "Your sons will inherit a secured future. You'd be providing them with the stability that comes from success. Isn't that the ultimate goal? To ensure they have opportunities?" The room felt smaller now, their ideological gap widening before them. Grant's heart raced, not from fear, but from the realization of a truth he'd never considered. What if he had been all too willing to sacrifice his family's artistic legacy for a promise of security? "Is that truly success, if the price is our essence?" Grant challenged, a conviction firing within him. "Money may bring comfort, but without authenticity, we risk losing ourselves." They were locked in a battle of values, and every word mattered. Grant understood that defending his vision meant not only articulating his concerns, but embodying them. He had to dive deeper, to reveal the passion, the emotional stakes at play. He took a breath, recalling moments shared with his sons. The laughter, the colors, the dreams they painted together. This mural was an extension of them, an affirmation of their bond. "Let's create something that stands as a testament to our story," he stated firmly. "Art that resonates will always connect with people." Marcus's expression darkened slightly, but the fight in Grant solidified. In this moment, he understood he had far more to offer than just art. He was weaving personal truths into the broader narrative. As the challenge intensified, Grant felt himself standing on the precipice of something great, ready to reshape his destiny. The battle lines were drawn, and now it was not merely a discussion about profit margins. It was about reclaiming the essence of what he stood for. Would Marcus relent, or unleash his final gambit? The stakes were rising, and the confrontation was far from over. Grant braced himself for what was to come, unyielding in his quest to protect his family's integrity while navigating the treacherous waters of ambition. The moment demanded a decision, and Grant could feel the tide beginning to turn. But just then, Marcus leaned in, a knowing grin resurfacing. "Tell me, Grant, what leads to greater impact? Art that evokes emotion, or art that fills wallets? The answer may change everything." Grant's heart raced at Marcus's question, the implication piercing through the tension like a knife. He forced himself to maintain eye contact, redirecting the weight of his discomfort back onto his opponent. This was not simply a business negotiation. It was an exploration of values. Impact is rooted in authenticity, Grant asserted, though uncertainty crept into his gut. He could feel the stakes rising, the air crackling with the intensity of their clash. Art that speaks to the soul creates lasting connections. It stirs emotion and ignites inspiration far beyond any ledger sheet. Marcus cocked an eyebrow, seeming entertained by the exchange rather than threatened. So you'd rather be a starving artist than a successful one? Each word from Marcus dripped with cynicism, testing Grant's resolve. The familiar pang of self-doubt whispered in his ear, nudging him to reconsider his approach. Was he, in his stubbornness, positioning himself for failure? I wish to create more than just a paycheck, Grant replied, his voice steadying as he leaned into the anchor of his purpose. I want to craft a legacy for my sons that's more meaningful than money, a visual expression of the life lessons I want to impart. With those words, he felt a shift within himself. Fighting for his vision was not just about the mural. It embodied his role as a father and as a man determined to stand firm against societal pressures. Grant was not merely resisting. He was evolving into a defender of what he valued most. Let's focus on how to reach people then, Marcus said, the glimmer of strategy returning to his eyes. We can work on something that captures your narrative while adapting it for broader appeal. Perhaps we could survey community feedback, see what resonates? The mention of community feedback triggered a wariness in Grant. It carried potential compromise, yet it also risked the dilution of his original vision. He could imagine focus groups shying away from the rawness of their family's experiences. Would he truly allow the essence of their story to be broken down by consensus? That sounds like research masquerading as genuine art, Grant replied, a conviction asserting itself. Who defines the parameters of emotional resonance? Why should my family's history bow to market demands? In that moment, clarity washed over him like the first light of dawn. The truth was not just about financial success or societal validation. It was deeper. It connected to his purpose, his identity. Grant realized he needed not only to express his vision, but also to show Marcus the power of authentic storytelling. Art can disrupt, Marcus. It should challenge perception, not conform to it, Grant continued, the fire within him igniting. It's about leaving a mark, a legacy built on honesty. That's where the most potent connections lie. Marcus assessed him closely. His previous confidence seemingly wavered. Grant took the opportunity to press on. Imagine a mural that sparks conversation, one that compels viewers to reflect, to feel. Wouldn't you agree that legacy outweighs mere numbers? For a moment, the silence returned, heavy with implications. The flicker of doubt hung between them. Grant knew he was risking failure with every bold statement he made, yet the potential for something transformative coursed through him. Perhaps, Marcus said slowly, the challenge edging back into his tone. But you also need to understand this. If you resist too much, you might end up with a mural that no one sees or values. The market craves accessibility and relatability. In that moment, Grant felt the stakes crystallize entirely. This was not a simple negotiation. It was a philosophical crossroads, where passion intersected with practicality. The battle between artistic vision and commercial viability loomed larger than ever. Perhaps you're right, Grant conceded, unwilling to concede to defeat. But I will not forget that my family's story must remain the heart of this project. I will fight for my son's legacy. As he said that, he became unbearably aware of just how much was on the line. The way forward required navigating a treacherous balance between preservation of his ideals and the realities of the business world. But he felt fortified in the knowledge that this mural was more than color on walls. It was the embodiment of hope, resilience, and family. Suddenly, a thought struck him with the force of a revelation. What if we invite my sons into this process? He suggested, his strategy crystallizing. Let them share their perspectives on what the mural represents. not just for us, but for the community. The room fell silent as Grant's words sank in. The notion of empowering his sons, allowing them a stake, not only transformed the project, but shifted the power dynamics in the room. It turned this confrontation into a collaborative inquiry. Marcus's expression morphed, contemplating the implications. "That could work," he began, but the end of his sentence remained unformed. What awaited their negotiation remained uncertain. But now, Grant stood resolute, a father ready to lead his sons into this new, uncharted territory. They were at the brink of something potentially revolutionary. As Marcus finally responded, the tension thickened anew. "But remember, Grant, it's still a business," he said, revealing hints of reluctance. "We'll need more than just good intentions. Let's see if this can truly appeal." And in that moment, Grant felt the air crackle with anticipation. Was this the beginning of a win-win solution, or a step toward an unresolved conflict? The uncertainty gripped him tightly as he realized that their next conversation could redefine everything. His vision, his values, and the legacy he hoped to carve out for his children. A newfound determination surged through Grant as he contemplated what could lie ahead. Inviting his sons to the table wasn't merely a strategy, it was a fundamental shift in their family narrative. Their perspectives added depth, and their involvement would make this mural a living extension of their shared history. Marcus's seemingly indifferent expression hinted at a break in his facade. Grant recognized the latent doubt in his opponent's eyes, doubt that he could exploit. "We'll need to create an environment that encourages honest dialogue," Grant affirmed, his voice gaining momentum. "This isn't just another project. It's an opportunity for discovery, to view our story through the lens of youth and authenticity." Yet, the uneasiness within him bubbled close to the surface. What if Marcus resisted? What if his ideas were deemed ineffectual or insubstantial? The stakes had become even more personal, not just for himself, but for his sons. And the mere thought of their disillusionment propelled him to take action. "We need to engage," he explained, choosing each word carefully as if crafting his vision in real time. "We can showcase their feelings, their hopes, their fears. It's their narrative just as much as mine. Leveraging their input could create a mural that isn't just viewed but truly felt, a piece of our identity that resonates." Regarding Marcus, he could see the cracks starting to form in the businessman's armor. He was fearless in his pursuit of monetary success, yet Grant knew that an emotional connection could transcend mere transactional gains. By instilling his sons' voices into the project, he could build a bridge, one strong enough to carry the weight of their family's legacy. "All right," Marcus relented after a tense pause, though his tone lacked enthusiasm. "Let's draft a plan. This will mean more meetings, but I'll let you lead on your end. There's still the question of how to market this effectively." Grant's heart soared at the prospect of moving forward. At this moment, however, he couldn't help but wonder what it would mean to blend art and business harmoniously. Could he balance his authenticity while also appeasing the demands of a commercial endeavor? What ramifications would that have on his integrity as an artist? As he began to chart out a course for this new phase, Grant wrestled with a gnawing anxiety. The mural would mirror not only their family tales, but also the pressures from the outside world, a world that sought to commodify their struggles. "Let's begin with an initial meeting at home," Grant proposed, leaning into his instinct. "I want my sons involved from the inception. We can brainstorm ideas, sketches, whatever they feel comfortable expressing. It would be vital for their confidence. I want them to own their story." A flicker of approval crossed Marcus's face, a glimmer that energized Grant further. Yet deep inside, doubts remained. What if his sons didn't share the same passion? What if they hesitated to express themselves, held back by uncertainty? This fear was a dark companion, nudging him to question his own role as a father and leader. As Marcus nodded in agreement, a flash of resolve gripped Grant. He was not merely walking a tightrope between vision and commerce. He was forging a new path, equipped with the knowledge that vulnerability could lead to profound connections, both in art and life. Let's aim for a kickoff by the end of next week, Grant concluded, his heart racing, excitement mingling with trepidation. This isn't just about one mural anymore. It's about creating a sanctuary of stories, one that captures the heart of who we are. With a shared goal on the horizon, he could feel the anticipation build, yet shadows remained over him, reminders of the extensive work to be done and the conflicting pressures they would face. Would his sons embrace their roles, or would this venture falter under expectations? As the meeting adjourned and both men turned to leave, an unspoken tension lingered, an urgent need for Grant to explore one final element. "Marcus," he called back, the impulse driving his voice. "I need a guarantee that our narrative won't be twisted into something unrecognizable. This project is the fabric of my family's legacy, not a marketing ploy." Marcus paused, considering. The silence in the room was palpable, filled with the weight of both men's ambitions colliding. Finally he nodded, though a flicker of uncertainty marred his expression. "Then let's see what your sons bring to the table," he replied. Grant felt a swell of hope, but knew he was on the brink of an uncertain journey, a delicate balance of protecting his vision while engaging in a world filled with expectations. Little did he know that the true challenge lay not in convincing Marcus, but in uncovering the hidden voices of his sons and the lessons they would teach him. With every step Grant took toward his vision, the haunting question loomed larger. Could authenticity withstand the trials of the marketplace? As he turned to leave the meeting room, the stakes had never been clearer. The time had come to face the unexpected revelations ahead. Grant stepped back into the familiarity of his home, the weight of the discussions pressing heavily on him. The air felt charged with potential, yet laced with nervous anticipation. He was embarking on a venture not merely to create art, but to instill identity, to carve out a space where his sons could express their truths. But beneath this purpose, a pit of anxiety twisted in his stomach, mired in the fear of inadequacy. As he mulled over the logistics of their initial meeting, thoughts of his sons filled his mind. David, with his contemplative nature, often took the time to ponder deeply before sharing. That would be a challenge. He needed to find the right stimuli to draw out his ideas. And Jacob, the more vibrant and expressive of the two, conveyed his feelings through bursts of creativity, but sometimes struggled with focus. Balancing their different dynamics would be critical if he wanted to weave their contributions into the mural effectively. What if they weren't on board? What if their experience didn't resonate with his vision? The flickers of doubt escalated into a wildfire, consuming his thoughts. The mural was to be a unifying project, but what if its foundation was shaky? He felt the need to affirm his role not just as an artist, but as a father rooting for his sons. In an impulsive act of clarity, Grant fetched his sketchpad. He began outlining possible themes: connection, resilience, hope. Each stroke of the pencil was a reflection of his longing for deeper relationships with his boys. He considered their highs and lows, his dreams for them, and the collective stories they had yet to explore. This was not just a chance to create art. It was an opportunity to enrich their engagement with their own life narratives. That night, as he organized a makeshift workspace in the living room, he looked around. The family pictures adorning the walls echoed their history. Every smile, every achievement, crystallized moments of joy intertwined with struggles. There was a deep sense of pride swelling within him, but it quickly morphed into a haunting reminder. Could he articulate this ambiguity? Grant glanced at the clock ticking away, counting down the minutes to a meeting that threatened to define them. He knew he had to bridge the gap between his fears and the vision he aspired to project. What would be the key to unlocking his son's creative potential? With that thought, he began planning an approach that felt safe yet inviting. He would ask open-ended questions, allowing them the freedom to guide the conversation. The meeting would serve as a canvas for their individual thoughts to emerge, raw and unfiltered, just like the art they sought to create. Just as we're painting this mural, Grant whispered to himself, we will layer our experiences and draw from each other. This revelation sparked a sense of reassurance that gave him the strength he desperately needed. This could be a pathway not only to the exhibition of their family dynamics, but also a road to growth for him as a father. But the insecurities remained. He had moments where he could almost visualize Marcus glancing over at the mural after its unveiling, perhaps bearing that familiar dismissive look. "It's not commercial enough," he imagined Marcus saying, as disappointment clawed at his insides. Grant knew he had to be vigilant. His creative vision had to withstand both internal and external scrutiny. The morning dawned with a sense of urgency. Each hour felt heavier as he prepared for the gathering. Grant wondered how the meeting would unfold. Would his sons feel comfortable sharing their vulnerabilities? As the door swung open to reveal David and Jacob, a surge of emotions coursed through him. Pride and hope mingled with the lingering fear of failure. He took a deep breath, determined to navigate through this cherished opportunity with care. He knew that at the heart of their journey lay the potential for discovery, not just in the mural, but within each other. Would they embrace the challenge? Would they find their voices in this collaborative effort? With unease and excitement blending, Grant met their curious gazes, and it occurred to him that today could also redefine him. As he kicked off the meeting and laid the groundwork for their engagement, his heart raced with anticipation. The question lingered: would they uncover their hidden competencies and embrace their family's truth together? This unfolding narrative felt paramount. It was the moment for his sons to step beyond their assumptions and limitations. Each heartbeat brought them closer to the unknown awakening ahead. The morning sun flooded the living room with warmth as Grant sat with Jason and Tyler, ready to begin their first collaborative meeting. He felt the weight of the moment. It was not just about the mural anymore. It was about weaving their family narrative together in a way that could inspire and transform them all. Today marked the genesis of a venture that promised to be both cathartic and revealing. "Boys," he began, his voice steady despite his internal turmoil, "I want to create something special, something that reflects our story, our journey. But I need your ideas, your emotions, and your dreams. How about we talk about what the mural means to you both?" Grant watched as his sons exchanged glances. Jason was quiet, his eyes darting to the artwork scattered around the room, searching for inspiration. Tyler, ever the vibrant one, leaned forward with curiosity. The initial hesitance gave way to a glimmer of hope within him. This was an opportunity to unearth their emotional landscapes through art. "Can we paint the galaxy?" Tyler blurted out, his excitement palpable. "Like the one Mia made with us." The mention of Mia's art studio reminded Grant of the magic she had fostered in their home. "Yes, the galaxy symbolizes exploration and dreams. What if we used it to represent our aspirations?" he prodded, watching their excitement grow. Jason, emboldened by his brother's enthusiasm, added, "And we can include stars for our family. Each star can represent a happy memory." The beauty of their imaginations intertwined effortlessly. Each suggestion sparked creativity, building a tapestry of ideas that would eventually lay the foundation for their mural. Grant felt a warmth envelop the space, a connection forming among them that hadn't existed before. "Exactly. Stars for our cherished moments and galaxies for our dreams," Grant affirmed, heart swelling with pride. This could actually work. What about colors? How do we want them to feel? The ideas flowed freely now, each boy bouncing concepts off the other, their voices building in enthusiasm. With every suggestion, Grant felt another layer of fatherhood coalescing into his identity, a shift from mere observer to active participant. As they scattered sketches and color swatches across the table, Grant caught glimpses of their spirits blooming. Jason's hesitance faded, revealing layers of thoughtfulness and depth. Tyler's creative spark dazzled brighter, illuminating their discussions with joyous enthusiasm. But with this transformation came a lingering thought. Would they be able to maintain this vivacity under the impending scrutiny of the outside world? The question nagged at him, a specter of Marcus waiting in the shadows for the right moment to undermine their authenticity. Despite this worry, Grant pressed onward. Why don't we each pick one color that represents something important to us? We can discuss what it means and how it can translate onto our mural. "This blue!" Jason exclaimed, his face lighting up as he clutched the paint. "Because it reminds me of the ocean, where we went last summer." A flood of memories washed over Grant, as he could almost hear the waves crashing beneath the sun. But they had much to accomplish today. "Wonderful choice. It captures both tranquility and adventure," he replied, eager to maintain the flow. Tyler's hand shot up, a bright yellow in his grasp. "This one represents happiness. It's like the sun shining down on us." Those words resonated deeply with Grant, reminding him of the warmth that light could bring to their lives, a stark contrast to their recent years of isolation and silence. Here, in the embrace of opportunity and collaboration, they began to integrate the essence of their experience into art. As ideas solidified and meanings emerged, Grant could feel the bond growing stronger. Their laughter filled the room, swirling with creativity that had long been stifled. It became a space of both vulnerability and strength, where each brushstroke they planned would echo not just on canvas but in the foundations of their family. But in the back of his mind, Grant remained acutely aware of the looming necessity to confront Marcus regarding their collaboration. Today, they had crafted a sanctuary of sentiment. But tomorrow, he would take the challenge of protecting their vision into the business realm, a realm where authenticity was often compromised for profit. Later that evening, as the boys settled down after a fruitful day, Grant reflected on their experiences. He felt a profound satisfaction, an affirmation that he did not need to forsake family for corporate ambitions. The next morning brought a new sense of clarity. Grant felt solid as he prepared for his impending meeting with Marcus. He had the resolve to stand firm against any attempts to stifle their artistic integrity. For the first time, he saw the tangible shape of their mural and fathomed the richness it could bring, not just to his sons, but to a community craving genuine connection. As they approached the meeting, Grant exuded a calm confidence, one rooted in conviction rather than fear. "Marcus," he began, fully prepared. "Last night, I had some of the most meaningful conversations with my sons. I want to share our vision for the mural, and most importantly, ensure it remains rooted in our family's story." The tension in Marcus's expression was palpable as Grant shared their plans. "This is not just about creating art. It is our narrative and our future. My sons deserve a role in this process, and I will not allow it to be commodified." He watched as Marcus's demeanor shifted. This was a confrontation not just of ideas, but of deeply personal values, the very identity of what it meant to be a father and an artist. "You want to involve them even more, then?" Marcus questioned, skepticism coating every word as he leaned back, wary. "Absolutely," Grant replied with conviction. Nothing less would honor their voices or their experiences. The tension between them simmered, but Grant found himself emboldened by the love and passion he felt for his family and their dreams. There would be no retreating from this stance. As Grant left the meeting, a sense of fulfillment cascaded through him. He had taken significant strides as a father, an artist, and a protector of the truth that radiated from his sons. In embracing the challenge of creating a mural that authentically represented their journey, he hadn't just preserved their legacy, he had asserted their potential to thrive. He strode forward, excited yet grounded, ready to face the world equipped with the understanding that real success had taken a new shape. No longer confined by societal expectations, he would nurture his son's dreams. Together, they would conquer the universe one brushstroke at a time. The journey ahead remained unpredictable, yet the echoes of laughter and dreams intertwined, formed a pathway through uncertainty. Grant knew he had begun the most significant transformation of all, the elevation of his family's spirit, anchored by an unwavering pursuit of authenticity. Now was the moment to forge a legacy that transcended all definitions of success. If you believe in stories of personal transformation and the beauty of overcoming, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and be part of this journey. Comment your reactions and theories about this conclusion below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative story. You need to show your support now. Don't wait even one more second.